The Hindu Kush mountains loomed like sleeping giants under the moonless Afghan sky. Commander Jake Reaper Maddox pressed his body against the cold stone wall, his breath forming small clouds in the frigid air. Behind him, 7 of America's finest warriors waited for his signal. SEAL Team 7, the best extraction unit in Special Operations Command. Thermal shows 8 tangos inside, 2 on patrol outside, whispered Lieutenant Marcus Chen through the comms, his voice barely audible even through the earpiece. HVT confirmed in the northeast room, 2nd floor. Maddox nodded, though Chen couldn't see him in the darkness. They'd been tracking this high-value target, a Taliban financier with links to 3 major attacks, for 6 months. Tonight that hunt ended. "Breach her up," he whispered. Petty Officer Rodriguez moved forward with the explosive charge, his movements fluid and silent despite carrying 60 pounds of gear. The compound ahead looked innocent enough: mud walls, a wooden door, a single generator humming in the courtyard. But intelligence said their target was inside, planning his next attack. 30 seconds, Maddox counted down. His team stacked up behind him: Chen, Rodriguez, Jackson, Murphy, Williams, Connor, and Hayes. 8 brothers who'd bled together in a dozen countries whose names would never appear in their service records. Rodriguez placed the charge. "Set. On my mark, 3, 2, 1, execute." The explosion shattered the night. The door disintegrated into splinters. Maddox was through the opening before the smoke cleared, rifle up, laser sight cutting through the darkness. Contact front. The first Taliban fighter never had a chance. 2 rounds, center mass moving. The compound erupted into chaos. "Second floor moving," Chen called out, his team flowing like water through the rooms. This was what they trained for, the symphony of coordinated violence, each man knowing exactly where his brothers were, where they'd move next. But something was wrong. Maddox felt it in his gut, that 6th sense that kept men alive in places like this. "It's too easy," he said into his radio. "Stay sharp." The first RPG hit the wall behind them. The explosion lifted Maddox off his feet and slammed him into a support beam. His ears rang. Blood ran down his face. Through the ringing, he heard Chen screaming orders. "Ambush! We walked into an ambush!" Suddenly the compound was alive with muzzle flashes. Not 8 tangos, 30, maybe more. They'd been waiting. The intelligence was wrong, or worse, they'd been set up. "Exfil, we need exfil now." Rodriguez was shouting into the radio, calling for their helicopter support. Maddox stumbled to his feet, returning fire. A Taliban fighter rushed from the shadows. Maddox's knife found his throat before his own weapon could rise. "Team 7, rally on me." We punched through the north wall. They moved as one, fighting through overwhelming fire. Jackson took a round to his plate carrier, knocked him down but didn't penetrate. Murphy dragged him up, still shooting. Brothers, they never left anyone. "Commander, we need to move." Chen's face was covered in dust and blood, but his eyes were clear, focused. "They're surrounding us." Maddox knew Chen was right. They had maybe 90 seconds before this position became their tomb. "Blow the north wall. We're leaving." Rodriguez slapped a charge on the mud brick barrier. They stacked up again, muscle memory overriding the chaos. The explosion created their exit. They poured through into the courtyard, straight into a kill zone. "RPG," someone screamed. Maddox saw it coming, the trail of smoke and fire, and knew exactly where it would hit, right where his team was stacked up. In that split second, he made a choice, the only choice he could make. He shoved Chen hard, sending him and 2 others sprawling sideways. The RPG hit where Maddox had been standing. The world became fire and thunder. Maddox felt himself lifted, weightless for a moment, then falling. The ground disappeared beneath him. He was tumbling down the ravine, rocks tearing at his gear, his body, his face. Something snapped, his arm, maybe ribs, couldn't tell. The world spun over and over. He hit bottom hard enough to drive the air from his lungs. Above him, the firefight continued. He could hear his team's weapons, the distinctive crack of their M4s. Chen's voice on the radio frantic. "Commander, Commander, do you copy? Maddox." He tried to respond. His radio was gone, torn away in the fall. He tried to climb, but his left arm was useless, hanging at a wrong angle. The ravine wall was too steep, too loose. Every attempt sent him sliding back down. Another explosion above, bigger this time. Secondary charges, or maybe the compound's ammunition store. Flames illuminated the night sky. "We can't reach him." That was Murphy's voice, desperate. "There's too many of them." "We're not leaving him." Chen was screaming now, returning fire, trying to get to the ravine edge. But Maddox could see what his lieutenant couldn't: more Taliban fighters pouring in from the village. They were about to be overrun. If Team 7 stayed, they'd all die. With his last strength, Maddox pulled his backup radio from his vest. His fingers were numb, clumsy. He keyed the mic. "Chen, Marcus, get them out." "Negative, we're coming for you." "That's an order, Lieutenant." Maddox coughed, tasted blood. Something was broken inside. "You have 60 seconds before you're surrounded. Get them out." The silence on the radio lasted forever. "Sir, Chen's voice broke. "Take care of my girls, Marcus. Tell them their dad loved them. Now move." He could hear the Black Hawk inbound, rotors thundering over the mountains. Heard the desperate scramble as his team fought their way to the LZ. Heard Chen giving orders through tears, keeping them together, keeping them alive. The helicopter lifted off. Maddox listened to the sound fade into the distance, taking his brothers to safety. Taliban fighters appeared at the top of the ravine, their flashlights cutting through the smoke. Maddox gripped his pistol with his good hand. If this was the end, he'd go out fighting. But instead of shooting, they rappelled down. Rough hands grabbed him, a rifle butt to his head, and the world went black. 3 weeks later, across an ocean, in a chapel at Naval Base Coronado, they folded a flag. Maddox's wife Sarah collapsed into her sister's arms. His daughters, Emily and Grace, age 7 and 5, didn't understand why Daddy wasn't coming home. SEAL Team 7 stood at attention in their dress whites, tears streaming down faces that had seen too much death. Lieutenant Marcus Chen accepted the flag, his hands shaking, his soul shattered by the decision he'd made. The chaplain's words washed over them. "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." But in a cave 5,000 miles away, Commander Jake Maddox was still alive. Barely. And someone was coming for him. Captain Alina Volkov had been called many things in her 8 years of classified operations: Ghost, Phantom, Death from Above. But she preferred Wraith. It was cleaner, simpler, and it captured the essence of what she did: appear from nowhere, eliminate the target, vanish like smoke. At this moment, she was perched on a cliff face 7,000 feet above sea level, her custom Macmillan TAC-50 rifle resting on its bipod. The wind howled at 20 knots, but her breathing remained steady, controlled. Through her scope, she watched a compound 3 miles away where her target, a weapons smuggler supplying anti-aircraft missiles to terrorist cells, was supposed to be meeting his suppliers. "Wraith, this is Overwatch. Target has not appeared. Intel may be compromised." The voice in her earpiece belonged to her handler at JSOC, Colonel Davies, the only person she reported to directly. "Copy. Maintaining position," Alina replied, her voice flat, emotionless. Patience was the sniper's greatest weapon. She'd once waited in position for 4 days to take a single shot. 4 days without moving, barely eating, becoming part of the mountain itself. But today, something else caught her attention. Her radio crackled with intercepted Taliban communications. Alina spoke fluent Pashto, Dari, Arabic, and Russian, languages learned from a childhood spent following her military family across the world. What she heard made her blood run cold. The American commander, yes, he still lives. The butcher wants him moved to the valley compound. The execution will be filmed. 3 days. Elena's finger hovered over her radio. Overwatch, I'm picking up chatter about an American prisoner. High value. They're calling him a commander. There was a pause. Then Davy's voice came back, urgent. Stand by, Wraith. We're checking our databases. Elena shifted her scope, scanning the mountain passes. In the distance, she spotted movement. A convoy of 3 vehicles winding through the narrow roads. Taliban fighters, heavily armed. And in the middle vehicle, she glimpsed something that made her heart pound. A man in shredded American fatigues, his face swollen and bruised, hands bound behind his back. She zoomed in closer. The man's face was barely recognizable under the damage, but she could see the patches on his torn uniform. Naval Special Warfare insignia. This was a SEAL. Overwatch, I have eyes on the prisoner. Confirming military personnel, appears to be Naval Special Warfare. Convoy heading south toward the valley. 3 vehicles, approximately 15 hostiles. The radio exploded with activity. She heard Davies shouting orders in the background, pulling up files, making calls. Then his voice returned and she could hear the shock in it. Wraith, we need visual confirmation. We have a SEAL commander who was KIA 3 weeks ago in that region. Commander Jake Maddox, Team 7. But that's impossible. His team saw him die. Elena's jaw tightened. She'd heard that story. Every operator in the community had. SEAL Team 7's disastrous mission, their commander killed in an ambush. A funeral had been held. A family destroyed. Through her scope, she watched the prisoner more closely. He stumbled as Taliban fighters dragged him from the vehicle, and she saw his face clearly for the first time. Even through the bruising and swelling, she could match it to the photos now displaying on her heads-up device. Commander Jake Maddox, alive. Positive ID on Commander Maddox, Elena transmitted. He's in bad shape. Multiple injuries, possible infection. They're holding him in a compound at coordinates. She rattled off the numbers. Wraith, you need to maintain surveillance only. We're scrambling a rescue team. Negative, Overwatch. Elena was already calculating distances, angles, extraction routes. By the time a team inserts, they'll have him moved or executed. I heard them mention 3 days. That was their timeline before. If the butcher is involved, Maddox won't last that long. Wraith, you can't take on 15 hostiles alone. I'm not asking for permission, Colonel. Elena began breaking down her position, packing her gear with practiced efficiency. I'm informing you of my intentions. 1 operator can move faster than a team. I can reach him in 18 hours. Elena, listen to me. Davies rarely used her first name, which meant he was genuinely concerned. The butcher is one of the most dangerous Taliban commanders in the region. He's paranoid, well-protected, and he wants revenge for his operations we've disrupted. This is a trap waiting to happen. Elena slung her rifle across her back, secured her pack. Then it's good I'm walking into it with my eyes open. She paused, staring at the distant mountains. Colonel, do you know why I do this job? Elena. My brother Alexei, Marine Recon. 6 years ago, his team was ambushed in Syria. They called for exfil, but command decided it was too risky, too many hostiles. They left him and 3 others behind. Her voice remained steady, but there was steel underneath. ISIS found them. I won't describe what they did. You've read the reports. Davies was quiet. I made a promise at his funeral, Elena continued, checking her pistol, her knives, her medical kit. No one else dies alone in these mountains, not while I'm breathing. Commander Maddox has a family. He has brothers who think he's dead. He deserves to go home. I can't officially authorize this. Then don't, but I'm going in. Elena started moving down the cliff face, her movements swift and sure despite the treacherous terrain. I'll maintain radio contact when possible. If I don't make it out, tell my mother I died doing what I believed in. Wraith, Elena, Godspeed. I'll have exfil ready at the border, but you'll have to get him there. That's 40 miles of hostile territory. I've done worse. Elena disappeared into the tree line, becoming one with the shadows. Wraith going dark. Next contact in 12 hours. She moved through the mountains like a ghost, pushing her body to its limits. Every minute counted. Every second mattered. Somewhere ahead, a good man was suffering, probably believing no one was coming, that he'd been forgotten. He was wrong. At the compound, Jake Maddox hung from chains in a dark cell, his body a map of pain. 3 weeks of interrogation, beatings, starvation. They wanted intel on SEAL operations, on future missions, on targets. He'd given them nothing but name, rank, and serial number. The door opened. The butcher entered, his scarred face twisted in a cruel smile. "Tomorrow, American, you will kneel before a camera. You will confess your crimes. Then I will cut your throat and send the video to your government. Your family will watch you die." Maddox lifted his head, defiant despite everything. "See you in hell." The butcher laughed and left him in darkness. But Maddox didn't know that in the mountains above, death was coming. Not for him. For his captors. Elena Volkov was 12 hours out, and she never missed. Elena reached the ambush position at 400 hours, her body screaming from 18 hours of non-stop movement through treacherous mountain terrain. Lesser operators would have taken twice as long. She had no time for rest. Through her night vision scope, she surveyed the convoy route below. The Taliban would move Maddox at dawn. Their pattern was predictable. They always transported high-value prisoners during early morning prayers when the roads were clearest and attention was diverted. She'd chosen her position with surgical precision. A rocky outcrop 800 meters from the road, elevated 40 meters, with clear sightlines and multiple escape routes. The wind had died down to 12 knots, perfect conditions. Her TAC-50 rifle could make this shot in her sleep. But this wasn't just about one shot. She needed to create total chaos, extract Maddox, and disappear before reinforcements arrived. 60 seconds, that's all she had. Elena opened her pack and removed 8 charges, carefully shaped C4 with remote detonators. Over the next hour, she placed them strategically along the road, disguised as rocks. Each one positioned to disable vehicles, create choke points, and funnel the survivors exactly where she wanted them. At 600, as the first light touched the mountain peaks, she heard them coming. 3 Toyota Hilux trucks, exactly as expected. 15 Taliban fighters, AK-47s and RPGs visible. And in the middle vehicle, slumped between 2 guards, was Commander Maddox. Elena's jaw clenched. He looked worse than she'd feared. His face was swollen almost beyond recognition. His uniform was blood-soaked and torn, and he could barely hold his head up. 3 weeks of torture had reduced one of America's most elite warriors to a broken shell. Not for long. She controlled her breathing, heart rate down, muscle tension released, become the rifle, become the bullet. The convoy entered her kill zone. Elena pressed the first detonator. The lead vehicle exploded in a ball of fire, flipping end over end off the road. Before the sound reached the other trucks, she was already firing. The driver of the trailing vehicle, center mass, dropped. The truck swerved violently and crashed into a boulder. 5 seconds elapsed. The middle vehicle, Maddox's vehicle, screeched to a halt. Guards poured out, confused, scanning for threats. They were looking in the wrong direction. Elena's rifle spoke again. The guard on Maddox's left headshot. The guard on his right chest shot. A fighter raising an RPG, throat shot. He dropped the weapon unfired. 10 seconds. She shifted targets with fluid precision. Each trigger pull was a symphony of mathematics: wind speed, bullet drop, target movement, elevation. Each shot was perfect. Bodies dropped before anyone could locate her position. 15 seconds. She detonated the remaining charges. The explosions created a wall of smoke and fire, cutting off potential reinforcements from the village 2 kilometers away. In the chaos, Taliban fighters scattered, shouting, firing wildly into the mountains. Alina was already moving, rifle slung, pistol drawn. She descended the cliff face in controlled slides, rock climbing training from her Spetsnaz father paying dividends. 40 meters in 20 seconds. She hit the road running. The middle vehicle was burning now, flames licking at the cab. Through the smoke she saw Maddox, still chained in the back, trying desperately to free himself. A Taliban fighter emerged from the smoke, raising his weapon. Alina's pistol barked twice, he fell. Another from the left, 3 rounds, center mass. She moved like water, flowing around obstacles, her situational awareness absolute. She reached the burning vehicle. The heat was intense, the ammunition inside starting to cook off. "Commander Maddox," she shouted in English. His head snapped up, confusion and hope warring in his eyes. "Who?" "Shut up and don't move." Alina holstered her pistol, pulled out bolt cutters from her vest and attacked his chains. The metal was thick, resistant, precious seconds ticking away. She heard engines in the distance, reinforcements coming. The chains snapped. Maddox collapsed forward, his legs unable to support him after weeks of captivity. Alina caught him, all 200 pounds of dead weight. She was 5'7" and 140 pounds, but she'd trained for this. Fireman's carry, lock the legs, distribute the weight. She lifted him across her shoulders and ran. Bullets chewed up the ground around them. She zigzagged, making herself an impossible target, Maddox's weight barely slowing her down. Behind them, the vehicle's fuel tank exploded, buying them precious seconds. Alina made it to the tree line, dropped Maddox behind cover and spun around with her rifle. 3 Taliban fighters were pursuing. She dropped all 3 in rapid succession. Boom, boom, boom. Then she was moving again, dragging Maddox deeper into the forest. "Can you walk?" she demanded. "Barely. Who are you?" Maddox's voice was hoarse, destroyed by weeks of screaming. "Captain Alina Volkov. JSOC sent me." She pulled out her medical kit, jabbing him with a syringe of broad-spectrum antibiotics and another of morphine. "Those wounds are infected. You've got maybe 48 hours before sepsis kills you if we don't get you to a hospital." Maddox stared at her like she'd materialized from another dimension. "JSOC thinks I'm dead." They did not anymore. Alina helped him to his feet. He swayed, nearly collapsed. She steadied him. "Listen to me, Commander. We have 40 miles to the extraction point. Hostile territory the entire way. The Taliban just put a massive bounty on our heads. Every fighter, every militia, every sympathizer within 100 miles will be hunting us." 40 miles. Maddox looked at his legs. One was clearly broken or severely damaged, held together by sheer willpower and adrenaline. I can't make that." "You will," Alina's voice was steel, "because the alternative is dying here, and I didn't just start a war to watch you quit. Your team thinks you're dead. Your wife thinks she's a widow. Your daughters think they lost their father." She stared into his eyes, unflinching. "You're going to prove them all wrong." Behind them, more engines, shouting in Pashto. The Taliban was organizing and they were angry. Alina slung Maddox's arm over her shoulder, taking his weight. "We move now. Stay quiet, stay close, and do exactly what I say. I've got 40 magazines, 8 grenades, and enough spite to walk through hell. You just need to keep breathing." They disappeared into the forest as the first wave of Taliban fighters reached the ambush site. The butcher arrived 20 minutes later. He surveyed the carnage, 12 of his best fighters dead, vehicles destroyed, and his prize prisoner gone. In the dirt, he found a single shell casing, .50 caliber, sniper. His radio crackled with reports. A woman. Witnesses saw a woman carrying the American. The butcher's face twisted with rage. He knew exactly who this was. The ghost they called Wraith. She'd disrupted his operations twice before, always vanishing before he could retaliate. Not this time. 10,000 American dollars for whoever brings me the woman and the seal, he screamed into his radio. Alive or dead, I don't care, find them. In the mountains, Alina and Maddox heard the broadcast on her scanner. She glanced at him, saw the concern in his eyes. Don't worry, Commander, she said, checking her GPS. They'll have to catch us first. She didn't mention that they had 39 miles to go. She was carrying a man who outweighed her by 60 pounds. They had minimal supplies, and every hostile force in the region was now hunting them. One step at a time, that's how you cross impossible distances. One shot at a time, that's how you beat impossible odds. Alina Volkov had spent her entire life doing the impossible. Today would be no different, hour 6. Alina's shoulders burned like fire. Maddox's weight, every ounce of it, pressed down on her as they climbed through dense forest. Her boots slipped on loose rocks, but she never faltered. Behind them, distant shouts echoed through the valleys. The Taliban was closing the net. Put me down, Maddox rasped. You can't carry me 40 miles. Watch me. Alina adjusted his weight, her jaw set with determination. She'd carried heavier packs longer distances. He was just another load, except this load was bleeding and had a pulse. They crested a ridge and Alina immediately dropped flat, pulling Maddox down with her. Below, a Taliban patrol, 8 fighters, moved through the valley they'd just left, hunting dogs with them. Her stomach tightened. Dogs changed everything. We need to mask our scent, she whispered, already pulling out a small vial from her vest. Pine oil, concentrated. She poured it over their boots, their clothes. It'll buy us time, not much. Maddox watched her work with professional appreciation. Even through his pain and exhaustion, he recognized expertise. You've done this before. Syria, Yemen, Pakistan. Alina finished with the oil and checked her rifle. I've been hunted by the best. These guys are good, but they're not the best. They moved parallel to the ridge line, staying in the tree cover. Every 100 meters, Alina would stop, scan with her scope, plot their next move. Maddox tried to keep up, but his broken leg betrayed him. He'd collapse, bite back screams, force himself upright again. Tell me about your brother, Maddox said during one of their brief rests. Talking helped. It kept him conscious, kept him fighting. Alina's hands paused while reloading her magazines. For a long moment she didn't speak. Then, Alexei, 2 years older than me. He taught me to shoot when I was 8. Our father was Spetsnaz, mother was American military intelligence. We grew up on bases, learning warfare like other kids learned soccer. What happened to him? Syria 2019. His Marine recon team was providing overwatch for a CIA operation. They got compromised. He called for extraction. Alina's voice remained flat, but her hands tightened on the rifle. Command said the LZ was too hot, too risky. They ordered him to evade and escape on his own. 3 days later, ISIS posted a video. Maddox closed his eyes. He'd seen those videos, every operator had. They haunted you. I was Delta then, Alina continued. I went rogue, crossed into Syria unauthorized, found the ISIS cell that killed him, all 12 of them. She met his eyes and he saw the cold fury that lived in her soul. Then I turned myself in, expected a court-martial. Instead, JSOC offered me a job. Apparently, they like operators who finish the mission no matter what. Your brother would be proud. Or furious I'm risking my life for strangers. Alina stood, helping Maddox up. Either way, we're moving. Those dogs won't stay fooled forever. Hour 12. They reached a cave system as night fell. Alina's thermal scanner showed it was empty. No heat signatures, no Taliban. They collapsed inside, both at their limits. Alina broke out her medical kit, the supplies dangerously low. She examined Maddox's wounds under her penlight. The infection was spreading. Red lines tracked up his leg, blood poisoning. She had 1 dose of antibiotics left. This is going to hurt, she warned, producing a scalpel. What isn't? Maddox tried to smile. She lanced the worst of the infected wounds, draining the pus and debris. Maddox's hands gripped the cave floor, every muscle rigid, but he didn't scream. Seals didn't scream. She packed the wounds with the last of her gauze, administered the antibiotics, and gave him water from her dwindling supply. "Tell me about your daughters," Elena said while she worked. Maddox's face softened despite the pain. "Emily is 7. She wants to be an astronaut, reads everything about space. And Grace, she's 5. She's the wild one, climbs everything, fears nothing." His voice cracked. "They think I'm dead. They buried an empty casket." "Then we make sure they know the truth." Elena finished bandaging. "We get you home." Outside, the wind howled. They heard helicopters in the distance, Taliban using everything they had to find them. The bounty had grown. The radio chatter spoke of $20,000 now. Farmers, villagers, every desperate soul in these mountains would be watching for them. Hour 18, the river. It appeared without warning, a rushing torrent of snowmelt, 60 feet wide, moving fast enough to sweep a man away. Their route across was either through it or a 20-mile detour they didn't have time for. "We cross," Elena decided. "Strip the electronics, waterproof what we can, stay connected by rope." She tied a line between them, secured her rifle across her back, and they entered the water. The cold was shocking, stealing breath. The current pulled immediately, trying to separate them. Elena fought forward, each step a battle against the river's strength. Halfway across, the shooting started. Taliban fighters on the opposite bank. They'd predicted the crossing point. Bullets churned the water around them. Elena pulled her pistol, returning fire one-handed while fighting the current with the other. "Go back," Maddox shouted. "Forward, only forward." Elena pushed ahead, bullets hissing past her head. Then fire exploded in her shoulder. She'd been hit. The impact spun her, nearly lost her grip on Maddox's rope. Blood clouded the water around her. "Elena," Maddox somehow found strength, pulling himself forward, grabbing her good arm. "I've got you." They stumbled toward the bank. More bullets. Elena handed Maddox her pistol. He might be broken, but he could still shoot. He fired with surprising accuracy, dropping 2 Taliban fighters, forcing the others to cover. They crawled onto the far bank, both bleeding now, both at the edge of collapse. Elena's shoulder was mangled. The bullet had gone through, missing bone but tearing muscle. She could barely move her left arm. "We're even now," Maddox said, applying pressure to her wound with torn cloth. "We're not even close to even." Elena forced herself upright, scanning for threats. More Taliban were coming, she could hear the engines. "We need to move, now." "You've been shot. And you've been shot, stabbed, beaten, and tortured for 3 weeks. If you can walk, I can walk." She pulled him up with her good arm. 20 miles left. We can rest when we're dead." They disappeared into the forest once more, leaving a blood trail that the Taliban would follow. The butcher himself was mobilizing his entire force. Every road was blocked, every village alerted. The net was tightening. But Elena Volkov had learned something in 8 years of impossible missions. The net is only as strong as the men holding it. And men got tired. Men made mistakes. Men were predictable. She didn't make mistakes. She checked her ammunition. 3 magazines left for the rifle, 2 for the pistol, 4 grenades, 1 smoke canister. It would have to be enough. Beside her, Maddox limped forward on sheer willpower, using a branch as a crutch. He looked at her, this woman who'd walked into hell to save a man she'd never met. "Why?" he asked quietly. "Why risk everything for me?" Elena was quiet for a long moment, scanning the darkening forest. Then, "Because no one should die alone in these mountains. Because your daughters deserve their father. Because—" she paused, something vulnerable flickering across her face. "Because maybe if someone had come for my brother, he'd still be here." They walked on through the darkness, 2 warriors bound by blood and determination, racing against time, injury, and an army that wanted them dead. 20 miles to freedom. And the hardest part was yet to come. Hour 36. Alina's encrypted satellite phone finally found signal on a rocky outcrop overlooking the valley. Her hands shook as she powered it up, not from fear, but from blood loss and exhaustion. The bullet wound in her shoulder had stopped bleeding, but infection was setting in. She had maybe 12 hours before she'd be combat ineffective. Beside her, Maddox had slipped into unconsciousness. His fever raged at 104 degrees. Without proper medical treatment soon, sepsis would kill him before the Taliban ever got the chance. The phone connected. "Overwatch, this is Wraith. I have the package. Repeat, Commander Maddox is alive and in my custody." Static, then Colonel Davies' voice crackled through, thick with emotion. "Wraith, confirm identity. We need Jake Maddox, Team 7, serial number 58472-193, born March 15, 1985, Coronado, California. Wife Sarah, daughters Emily and Grace." Alina rattled off details only the real Maddox would know. "He's critical condition. Multiple infected wounds, possible internal injuries, severe dehydration. I'm also hit. Shoulder wound. We're 20 miles from extraction, but we're not going to make it without support." "Jesus Christ," Davies breathed. "Wraith, hold position. I'm patching you through to Naval Special Warfare Command. They need to hear this." The line clicked. Then a new voice. "This is Admiral Harding, WARCOM. Captain Volkov, where exactly are you?" Alina read off her coordinates, then added, "Sir, Commander Maddox needs immediate medical evacuation. We're in Taliban-controlled territory being actively hunted. I estimate 200 hostiles converging on our position. Request immediate extraction authorization." "Negative," Harding said, and Alina's blood ran cold. "That area is locked down tighter than anything we've seen. The Taliban commander they call the Butcher has mobilized his entire network. Anti-aircraft weapons at every possible LZ. We can't risk a helicopter crew." "Then they die," Alina said flatly. "Both of us in about 12 hours. I'm not willing to risk." "Admiral, patch me through to SEAL Team 7. Now." Alina's voice cut like a blade. "They deserve to know their commander is alive before he dies. Again." A long pause, then "Stand by." "Naval Base Coronado, California, 600 hours." Lieutenant Marcus Chen sat alone in the Team 7 compound, staring at the photo of his team, all 8 of them, taken 2 months before the mission that destroyed everything. His coffee had gone cold hours ago. He hadn't slept in 3 days. The guilt was eating him alive. Every day he replayed that moment, the decision to leave Maddox behind, the right tactical call, the unforgivable moral failure. The phone rang. He almost didn't answer. "Lieutenant Chen, this is Admiral Harding. I need you to sit down." Chen's heart stopped. That tone, that voice, something had happened, "Sir. I'm patching you through to an operator in the field. Just listen." Click, static. Then a woman's voice, heavily accented. "Lieutenant Chen, my name is Captain Alina Volkov. I'm 20 miles inside hostile territory in Afghanistan. I'm looking at your commander right now." Chen dropped the phone, picked it up with shaking hands. "That's not possible. Jake is alive, barely, but alive." Alina's voice was steady despite everything. "He's been a Taliban prisoner for 3 weeks. I extracted him 2 days ago, but we're not going to make it out without help." Chen's vision blurred with tears. "Put him on. I need to hear his voice." Alina moved to Maddox, shook him awake. He groaned, eyes fluttering open. She held the phone to his ear. "It's your team." "Marcus." Maddox's voice was barely a whisper, destroyed by torture and dehydration. "Boss," Chen was openly crying now. "Sir, is that really you?" "Hey, little brother, sorry I missed the funeral." Maddox tried to laugh, ended up coughing blood. "We're coming for you. I swear to God we're coming for you, all of us. Team 7 doesn't leave anyone behind. Not again. Never again." Marcus, you made the right call. The team had to survive. Fuck the right call, Chen was shouting now, his composure shattered. We're bringing you home, sir, whatever it takes. Other voices erupted in the background. The rest of Team 7 had heard, crowding around the phone. Rodriguez, Jackson, Murphy, Williams, Connor, Hayes, all of them shouting, crying, demanding to know if it was real. Alina took the phone back. Lieutenant, I need you to listen. We have 20 miles to the extraction point through the valley of Khyber. Every Taliban fighter, every militia, every paid informant is hunting us. The Admiral says he won't authorize helicopter extraction due to anti-aircraft threats. Then we go in on foot. Chen's voice had transformed. No more grief, no more guilt, pure determination. Where's the nearest border crossing? Alina checked her map. Northern Pakistan border coordinates 34.8456 north, 71.2534 east. But Lieutenant, that's across an international border. Unauthorized incursion into Pakistan. Court-martial offense at minimum. I don't give a damn about courts-martial. Chen was already moving, gathering gear, alerting his team. We left him once. We're not leaving him twice. Give me a rendezvous point. There's a village, Dara Adam Kel, 12 miles from my current position. It's Taliban-controlled, but if we can punch through, there's an old Soviet bunker complex on the north side. Defensible position. But Captain, we'll never make it through that village. It's a death trap. Then we'll all die together. Chen's voice was steel. But we're coming. Team 7 is coming. You just keep him alive until we get there. Alina looked at Maddox, unconscious again, his breathing shallow. I'll do my best, but you need to move fast, Lieutenant. We're running out of time. She ended the call and immediately raised JSOC again. Overwatch, I need everything you have on Dara Adam Kel. Population, Taliban presence, defensive positions, escape routes, and I need it in the next 30 minutes. Wraith, that village is a fortress, 200 fighters minimum. You'll never. Then I better get creative. Alina checked her remaining ammunition. 3 rifle magazines, 1 pistol magazine, 3 grenades, against 200 fighters. She'd faced worse odds, probably, maybe. She looked at Maddox, thought about his daughters, his wife, his team racing across the world to save him. Thought about her brother Alexei, dying alone because no one came. Not this time. She pulled out her knife, began stripping bark from nearby trees, fashioning improvised stakes. If they wanted to fortify, she'd use the terrain. If they wanted to hunt, she'd become the hunter. The butcher's voice crackled over her intercepted radio. They're heading for Dara Adam Kel. Set up checkpoints at every entrance. I want 50 men in the village center. They walk into that village, they don't walk out. Alina smiled grimly. That's what you think. She turned to Maddox, checked his pulse, weak but steady. Commander, I don't know if you can hear me, but your boys are coming. Team 7 is coming, so you need to hang on. Your daughters need you. Your wife needs you. And honestly, she adjusted his bandages with surprising gentleness. I could use the backup. Dawn broke over the mountains, painting the sky blood red. Appropriate, Alina thought, because by nightfall that village was going to run red with blood. She'd promised Chen she'd keep Maddox alive until they arrived. Alina Volkov always kept her promises. She hefted Maddox onto her shoulders. Even her good shoulder screamed in protest now and began the final push. 12 miles, through hell itself. Behind them, the butcher's entire army was mobilizing. Ahead, a Taliban fortress waited. And somewhere in between, SEAL Team 7 was racing toward a fight that would either save them all or kill them all. 10 hours until the village. 10 hours until everything ended. One way or another. Hour 42. The village of Dara Adam Kel appeared through the mountain haze like a mirage of death. Stone buildings clustered around narrow streets, perfect for ambushes. Alina counted at least 30 armed fighters visible from her position, which meant 60 more she couldn't see. Maddox stirred on her shoulders, his fever finally breaking slightly. "Put me down," he rasped. "I can walk." Alina lowered him carefully behind a cluster of rocks. His legs barely held him, but there was clarity in his eyes for the first time in hours. She handed him water, their last bottle, and he drank greedily. "That's the village." He studied it with a tactician's eye despite his condition. "Our way home." Alina pulled out her spotting scope, scanning the streets. "SEAL Team 7 will hit the north entrance in approximately 6 hours. We need to be at that Soviet bunker complex when they arrive, which means we go through the village." "That's suicide." "No, that's Tuesday." Alina's dark humor masked her own assessment. This was the worst tactical situation she'd ever faced. Injured, low on ammunition, carrying a wounded man through a hostile village fortified specifically to kill them. She keyed her radio. "Overwatch, I need a miracle. What am I working with?" Davy's voice crackled back. "Satellite imagery shows the village has 3 entry points, east, west, and south. The north exit leads to your extraction point. Taliban has set up checkpoints at all 3 entrances. Estimate 50 fighters in the village center, another 100 surrounding the perimeter." "Wonderful." Alina studied the terrain. "What about diversions?" "There's a weapons market on the east side. Ammunition, explosives, the works. If something happened to trigger a fire." Alina smiled. That was exactly what she needed. "Overwatch, I need precise coordinates of that market, and I need SEAL Team 7's ETA. 5 hours, 40 minutes. Wraith, they're moving fast, but they're also drawing attention. Pakistani border guards have noticed. This is turning into an international incident." "That's tomorrow's problem." Alina checked her remaining grenades. 3. One would have to create enough chaos to get them through. "Tell Team 7 to stand by for my signal. When they see fire, they come in hard and fast." She turned to Maddox. "Commander, I need you honest. Can you run?" He tested his broken leg, winced. "I can hobble fast. What's the plan?" "We don't sneak through. We can't. Too many eyes, too many checkpoints." Alina began stripping her gear down to essentials. "We create chaos, then use that chaos to mask our movement. The weapons market is our target. One grenade, perfectly placed, will create an explosion that'll rock this entire village. And in the confusion, we slip through to the bunker." Maddox nodded slowly. "It's insane." "You have a better idea." "Not even a little bit." They waited until afternoon prayers, 1,400 hours. The call to prayer echoed through the village, and Alina saw fighters moving toward the mosque. Not all of them, but enough to thin the patrols. "Now," she whispered. They moved down the mountain, 2 ghosts in tattered clothing. Alina had used mud to darken their faces, wrapped cloth around their gear to muffle sound. Maddox hobbled beside her, using a staff, looking like a wounded local rather than an American SEAL. They reached the village's east entrance. A checkpoint, 4 Taliban fighters smoking cigarettes, AK-47s slung casually. They were bored, not expecting trouble. Alina counted their heartbeats, 20 seconds until they'd rotate attention. She moved like smoke. Her knife found the first guard's throat before he could shout. The second turned her pistol, suppressed, coughed twice. The third reached for his radio. Maddox's staff cracked across his skull. The fourth ran. Alina's thrown knife took him in the back. 4 seconds, 4 dead. They dragged the bodies out of sight. "Still got it, Commander," Alina muttered, impressed despite everything. They entered the village, keeping to the shadows. The weapons market was 2 blocks ahead. She could see the stalls piled with ammunition crates, RPGs, barrels of gunpowder. A single spark would turn it into Armageddon. But between them and the market, the village center opened up, 50 fighters gathering after prayers, exactly as Davies had warned. There was no way around. They'd have to go through. Alina spotted their chance, a cart loaded with supplies being pushed by an old man. She approached quickly, speaking rapid Pashto. "Grandfather, we need your cart. There are men hunting us." The old man looked at Maddox's uniform, recognized American military despite the mud and wrappings. His eyes widened. "You're the Americans. The butcher searches for you." "Please," Alina said quietly, "we just want to go home." The old man studied them for a long moment. Then, surprising her, "My son was killed by the butcher for refusing to join his jihad. I am Mahmoud. Get in the cart." They didn't question it. Alina and Maddox buried themselves under sacks of grain in the cart. Mahmoud covered them completely, then began pushing through the village center. Under the grain, Alina controlled her breathing, her pistol ready. She heard Taliban fighters' voices, boots on stone, the casual cruelty of men who ruled through fear. Twice, the cart stopped checkpoints. She heard Mahmoud speaking calmly, convincingly. They started moving again. 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. Then Mahmoud's voice, barely a whisper, "We're past the center. The weapons market is ahead." Alina pushed free of the grain, scanned their surroundings. They'd made it. The market was 30 feet away, and more importantly, they were on the north side of the village. The Soviet bunker complex was visible on the hillside ahead. "Mahmoud, get clear," Alina said. "What's about to happen?" "I know." The old man smiled sadly. "Give the butcher my regards." He turned the cart and shuffled away, disappearing into an alley before Alina could thank him properly. She pulled her grenade, studied the market. Timing was everything. Too early and SEAL Team 7 wouldn't be in position. Too late and they'd be discovered. Her radio crackled, Chen's voice urgent. "Wraith, Team 7 is 3 miles out. Pakistani military has deployed to intercept us. We're about to have company." "Then I better make some noise." Alina pulled the pin, calculated trajectory, distance, wind, fire in the hole. The grenade arced through the air in a perfect parabola, disappearing into an ammunition stall. 3 seconds. 2. 1. The explosion was biblical. The entire weapons market detonated in a chain reaction, ammunition cooking off, RPGs launching randomly, propane tanks adding to the inferno. The blast wave knocked Alina and Maddox flat. Windows shattered. Buildings collapsed. The mushroom cloud of fire rose 200 feet. Complete chaos. Taliban fighters ran in every direction, shouting, firing blindly, thinking they were under air attack. Perfect. "Move!" Alina hauled Maddox up and they ran, she half carrying, half dragging him toward the bunker complex. Behind them, secondary explosions rocked the village. Ahead, the Soviet bunker waited, dark and defensible. They were 50 feet away when the butcher appeared. He stepped from behind a building, a dozen fighters with him, all weapons trained on Alina and Maddox. The butcher's scarred face twisted in fury and triumph. "The ghost and the American," he laughed, a sound like grinding gravel. "You've destroyed my village, killed my men, cost me everything. Did you think you could just walk away?" Alina pushed Maddox behind her, raised her rifle despite knowing it was hopeless. 12 fighters. She had maybe 15 rounds left. The math didn't work. "You can't win," the butcher continued, moving closer. "Your SEAL team is trapped by Pakistani military. You're wounded, exhausted. This is where your story ends." Alina's finger rested on the trigger. If she was going down, she'd take as many with her as possible. "Maybe, but you're coming with me." The butcher raised his hand to signal his men to fire. And then the hillside above them exploded with gunfire. SEAL Team 7 had arrived. They came down from the high ground like avenging angels, 8 operators moving with perfect coordination, suppressed weapons spitting death. Taliban fighters dropped before they could react. Lieutenant Chen's voice boomed, "Get to the bunker now." Alina didn't hesitate. She grabbed Maddox and ran the last 50 feet as bullets tore through the air. Chen and his team laid down covering fire, their training and fury combining into something unstoppable. They made it to the bunker entrance, a dark Soviet-era tunnel leading underground. Alina pulled Maddox inside just as Chen and Team 7 came sliding in after them, still firing. "Blow it," Chen shouted. Rodriguez slapped charges on the entrance supports. They ran deeper into the bunker as the explosion sealed them inside, cutting off the butcher's pursuit. Silence, just heavy breathing and darkness. Then someone turned on a tactical light. Commander Jake Maddox stood face to face with his team for the first time in 3 weeks. 7 men who thought they'd buried him. 7 brothers who'd crossed international borders to bring him home. "Miss me?" Maddox tried to smile. Chen's response was to grab his commander in a crushing embrace, tears streaming down his face. "You stubborn son of a bitch. You beautiful, stubborn son of a bitch." The rest of Team 7 crowded around. Rodriguez, Jackson, Murphy, Williams, Connor, Hayes, all of them talking at once, laughing, crying, checking Maddox's wounds. Alina stood apart watching. This was their moment, their family reunited. Then Chen turned to her, his eyes full of gratitude and respect. "Captain Volkov, you brought him back. You brought our brother home." "Call me Alina." She checked her ammunition, almost empty. "And we're not home yet. The butcher has this bunker surrounded. We're trapped." Outside, they heard it, engines, shouting, the sound of hundreds of fighters converging on their position. Maddox looked at his team, then at Alina. "So what's the plan?" Chen smiled grimly. "Simple, sir. Team 7 stands and fights together until extraction or death." "Those are my favorite plans," Rodriguez said, chambering a round. They were trapped in a Soviet bunker, surrounded by an army, low on ammunition, with wounded operators and no clear escape. But they were together. And sometimes that was enough. The Soviet bunker was a relic from the 1980s. Concrete walls 3 feet thick, multiple rooms, and a single choke point entrance they'd just collapsed. Alina swept her tactical light across the space, assessing. Defensible, but also a tomb if they couldn't break out. "Inventory," Chen ordered immediately, shifting into command mode. His team responded instantly. This was what they trained for. 4 magazines, rifle, Rodriguez reported. 2 pistol. 3 and 3, Jackson called out. One by one, Team 7 reported their ammunition. Combined, they had maybe 300 rounds against an army. Alina checked her own gear. 1 magazine, 15 rounds, 2 grenades, 1 smoke canister, she looked at Maddox, and 1 SEAL commander who should be in a hospital bed. "I'll rest when I'm dead," Maddox said, accepting an M4 rifle from Murphy. Despite his injuries, his hands moved with muscle memory, checking the chamber, testing the action. "What's our tactical situation?" Chen pulled up a tablet displaying satellite imagery. "We're in the main bunker chamber. 3 smaller rooms branch off, probably old Soviet storage. Single entrance, which we collapsed. But there's ventilation shafts, too small for men, perfect for grenades." "They'll try to smoke us out or blow us apart," Alina observed, studying the layout. "The butcher won't want to damage the bunker too much. He'll want our bodies intact for propaganda." As if on cue, the butcher's voice boomed from outside, amplified by a megaphone. "Americans, you have 1 chance to surrender. Come out now and I kill you quickly. Stay inside and I'll bury you alive." "Hard pass," Rodriguez shouted back, earning grim laughs from the team. Williams, their demolitions expert, was already examining the walls. "These ventilation shafts, I can rig them with our remaining C4. Anyone tries to drop grenades through, they get a surprise." "Do it," Chen ordered. "Murphy, Jackson, secure those side rooms. I want early warning if they try to breach through the walls." Connor, Hayes set up a fighting position at the main choke point. The team moved with practiced efficiency. Alina watched, impressed. This was a unit that had worked together for years, each man knowing his role, trusting his brothers absolutely. Maddox settled beside her, his back against the wall. He was pale, feverish again, but his eyes were sharp. "Alina, I need you honest. What are our chances?" She considered lying, decided against it. He deserved the truth. Realistically, 10%. The butcher has the numbers, the position, the time. We have. She gestured at the bunker, concrete and spite. "I've won on worse odds." Maddox checked his rifle again. "In Ramadi, 2008, my first deployment. 4 of us held a building against 40 insurgents for 6 hours. We ran out of ammunition, started throwing furniture. We survived." "What happened?" "Marines showed up, 7th Regiment, God bless them," he smiled. "Cavalry always arrives, eventually." Alina keyed her radio, trying to reach JSOC. Static. They were too deep underground. "No cavalry this time, Commander. We're on our own." "Then we make our own miracles." Maddox struggled to his feet. "Chen, what's the one thing the butcher wants more than killing us?" "Revenge, glory, proof he defeated American forces." "Exactly." Maddox's tactical mind was working despite the fever. "He wants us alive, wants the propaganda victory. That's his weakness. He'll be cautious, methodical. He'll try to take this bunker room by room." "Which gives us the advantage in close quarters," Alina understood immediately. "We funnel them through kill zones." Chen's eyes lit up. "Boss, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" "We don't wait for them to breach. We invite them in." Maddox pointed to the collapsed entrance. "Williams, can you blow that entrance in a controlled way? Create an opening just big enough for 2 men at a time." Williams grinned. "I can blow anything, sir. How big?" "Small, defensible, a meat grinder." The plan came together quickly. They'd blow the entrance partially open, creating a choke point. The first room would be the kill zone, Team 7 positioned with overlapping fields of fire. Any Taliban fighter who entered would walk into a wall of bullets. "It's insane," Rodriguez said admiringly. "I love it." They spent 20 minutes rigging their trap. Williams shaped the charges precisely. Too much would collapse the entire entrance. Too little wouldn't matter. Alina helped position the team, using her sniper's eye for angles and sight lines. Maddox, despite his condition, took a firing position. Chen tried to object. "Sir, you're wounded." "So is Captain Volkov, and she's fighting." Maddox chambered around. "My team, my bunker, my fight." Outside, the butcher was losing patience. They heard digging, his fighters trying to excavate the collapsed entrance. "Perfect." "Blow it," Chen ordered. The shaped charge detonated with a controlled thump. When the dust cleared, there was an opening, 4 feet wide, 5 feet tall, just enough. Silence, then shouting in Pashto, the butcher's voice ordering his fighters forward. The first Taliban fighter appeared in the opening, AK-47 raised. He never got a shot off, 8 rifles fired simultaneously. He dropped. "Next," Rodriguez called out. 2 more tried to enter together. They fell in a heap. The entrance was working exactly as planned, a bottleneck turning superior numbers into a liability. But the butcher wasn't stupid. The attack stopped. Then Alina heard it, a sound that made her blood run cold. "Grenade!" she screamed. The explosive bounced through the entrance. Connor grabbed it, threw it back in one fluid motion. It detonated outside, screams following. Then 3 more came at once. Williams rigged charges in the ventilation shafts detonated. Defenders became attackers, Taliban fighters caught in the blast. The assault intensified. Grenades, gunfire, shouting. Team 7 fought like demons, every round counting, every shot precise. Alina moved between positions, her rifle barking, dropping targets with sniper precision even in close quarters. Maddox fought beside his men, his body running on pure adrenaline and brotherhood. Every time he faltered, one of his team was there, Rodriguez steadying him, Jackson passing him ammunition, Murphy covering his sector. They were one organism, one weapon, fighting with perfect coordination. but their ammunition was running out. "Last magazine," Hayes called out. "Same here," Williams echoed. Chen checked his own rifle, 15 rounds left. He looked at Maddox, then Alina. No words needed. They were going to die here, but they'd die together. Then Hayes, who'd been monitoring the collapsed entrance, shouted, "Sir, I hear something, rotors." At first no one believed it. Wishful thinking, death hallucinations. But the sound grew louder. Unmistakable helicopter blades, multiple birds coming in fast and low. Chen's radio crackled, somehow finding signal. "Team 7, this is Rescue 1. We have your position. Pakistani military has withdrawn under diplomatic pressure. We're coming in hot." Pop smoke. Alina threw her last smoke canister through the entrance. Purple smoke billowed, the signal. Outside, the butcher heard the helicopters and knew he'd lost. In rage, he charged the entrance himself, rifle raised, screaming. He came face to face with Alina Volkov. She was out of rifle ammunition. He raised his weapon. She was faster. Her knife found his wrist, disarming him. They went hand to hand, brutal and desperate. The butcher was bigger, stronger. But Alina had trained with Spetsnaz, with Delta, with the best fighters in the world. And she'd made a promise to bring Maddox home. The butcher swung. She ducked, drove her knife into his side. He roared, grabbed her wounded shoulder. She screamed but didn't stop, swept his legs, drove him down, her knife finding his throat. "For my brother," she whispered, "for every man you tortured." The butcher's eyes went wide, then empty. Maddox appeared beside her, pulling her up. "Alina, we need to move." The helicopters landed outside, 2 Blackhawks, door guns blazing, clearing the area. Team 7 poured out of the bunker, carrying their wounded, laying down, covering fire. Alina and Maddox were last out. They stumbled into daylight together, both bleeding, both broken, both alive. Chen grabbed Maddox, practically threw him into the helicopter. Rodriguez pulled Alina aboard. The door gunner kept firing as they lifted off, Taliban fighters scattering below. As they gained altitude, Alina looked down at the burning village, the dead butcher, the battlefield they'd survived. Then she looked around the helicopter, at Team 7, battered but whole, surrounding their commander. Maddox was getting immediate medical attention from the crew medic. His eyes found hers across the cramped space. He mouthed 2 words, "Thank you." Alina nodded, then her eyes closed. She'd done it. Against impossible odds, she'd kept her promise. Maddox was going home. They all were. The helicopter banked toward the sunrise, leaving the mountains behind. Below, the war continued. But in that moment, for those 8 SEALs and 1 legendary sniper, the war was over. They'd won. Together, Commander Jake Maddox stood at the hospital window, his left arm in a sling, watching the Pacific Ocean roll against the shore. The doctors said he was lucky to be alive. Severe infection, 3 broken ribs, shattered leg, internal bleeding. Lucky didn't begin to cover it. Miraculous was closer. Behind him, the door opened. He turned to see his wife Sarah, tears already streaming down her face. She'd been there every day, but each time she looked at him, it was like seeing a ghost made flesh. "Hey, beautiful," he said softly. She crossed the room in 3 steps, wrapped her arms around him carefully, mindful of his injuries. "They told me you were dead. I buried you. I told our daughters their daddy was never coming home." "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Maddox held her with his good arm, breathing in her familiar scent, lavender and home. "But I'm here now, I'm here." The door burst open again, Emily and Grace, 7 and 5, hesitating at the threshold. They'd been told their father was alive, but seeing him was different. Real. "Daddy," Grace whispered, uncertain. Maddox dropped to one knee, wincing at the pain. "Come here, baby girls." They ran to him, colliding into his arms, and he held them like he'd never let go. Emily was crying. Grace was laughing. Sarah joined them, and for a long moment they were just a family, broken, scarred, but whole. You came back, Emily said into his shoulder, just like you promised. Always, sweetheart, always. Later that afternoon, Team 7 compound. Lieutenant Marcus Chen stood before Admiral Harding, prepared for court-martial. He'd led an unauthorized incursion across international borders, violated Pakistani airspace, engaged hostile forces without clearance. By every military regulation, he deserved punishment. Instead, Harding handed him a box. "Open it, Lieutenant." Inside was a Navy Cross, second only to the Medal of Honor. Chen stared, uncomprehending. "For extraordinary heroism in the face of the enemy," Harding said formally. "For leading a rescue operation that saved an American life against impossible odds. For refusing to leave a man behind." The Admiral's voice softened. "Son, you didn't break the rules. You upheld the highest tradition of naval special warfare. No one left behind. That's not just a motto, it's who we are." Chen's eyes filled with tears. "Sir, I don't deserve." "You carried the weight of an impossible decision for 3 weeks. You lived with guilt that wasn't yours to bear. Then, when given a chance at redemption, you didn't hesitate." Harding extended his hand. "You're one hell of an officer, Chen. Your commander is lucky to have you." Behind them, the rest of Team 7 filed in. Rodriguez, Jackson, Murphy, Williams, Connor, Hayes. Each received the same honor. The mission that should have destroyed their careers instead made them heroes. "There's one more ceremony," Harding said, "and you all need to be there." Naval Base Coronado, sunset. Captain Alina Volkov stood on the tarmac, uncomfortable in her dress uniform. She'd been called to the base but told nothing else. Crowds made her nervous. Ceremonies made her nervous. She preferred mountains and solitude. A car pulled up. Maddox emerged, still limping but upright. His entire family was with him. Team 7 arrived next, all in dress whites. "What is this?" Alina asked suspiciously. "You really think we'd let you disappear without saying goodbye?" Maddox smiled. "Alina, you saved my life. You carried me 40 miles through hell. You fought an army to bring me home. That deserves recognition." "I don't want recognition, I want." "We know what you want." Chen stepped forward, holding a small case. "You want to be left alone. You want to keep running, keep fighting, keep punishing yourself for your brother's death." Alina's face hardened. "Lieutenant." "But we're not letting you." Chen opened the case, revealing a gold trident pin, the insignia of the Navy SEALs. "This has never been done before. Never. But Admiral Harding, WARCOM, and every operator who heard your story agrees. You've earned this." Alina stared at the trident, her throat tight. "I'm not a SEAL." "No," Maddox said, taking the pin. "You're better. You're someone who walked into hell alone to save a stranger. You're someone who kept fighting when any sane person would have quit. You're someone who proved that the words 'no one left behind' aren't just for Americans, they're for anyone worth saving." He stepped closer, his voice dropping so only she could hear. "Your brother Alex, I looked up his service record. He was one hell of a Marine. And I promise you, wherever he is, he's proud of you. Not because you avenged him, but because you became something better than revenge. You became hope." A single tear tracked down Alina's face, the first anyone had seen from her. Maddox pinned the trident to her uniform. "Honorary member of SEAL Team 7, welcome to the family, sister." Team 7 erupted in applause. They surrounded her, these warriors who'd accepted her as one of their own. Rodriguez hugged her. Jackson shook her hand. Murphy saluted her with genuine respect. Chen approached last. "We have a tradition in Team 7. After a mission, we gather at the commander's house. We eat too much, drink too much, tell lies about how brave we were." He smiled. "You're invited. Actually, you're required. It's an order." Alina looked at them. These men who fought together, bled together, became family through fire. She'd spent 6 years alone, punishing herself, refusing connection. Maybe it was time to stop running. "What time?" she asked quietly. That evening, Maddox's family home. The backyard was filled with laughter. Team 7 had taken over the grill, competing to see who could burn meat the most creatively. Emily and Grace ran between the adults, collecting stories about the mission, age-appropriate versions anyway. Elena sat apart initially, watching. Old habits died hard. Then Grace appeared beside her, holding a drawing. "I made this for you." It showed stick figures, Elena and Jake, standing on a mountain holding hands. The words "MY Hero" were written in crayon at the top. Elena's voice caught, "It's beautiful." "Daddy says you saved him. That makes you family." Grace climbed into Elena's lap unself-consciously. "Do you have little girls?" "No, sweetie, I don't." "You can share ours. We have extra love." Sarah Maddox approached, carrying 2 beers. She handed one to Elena, sat down beside her. "Thank you. Those words aren't enough, but thank you. You gave me my husband back. You gave my daughters their father." "I just—" "No," Sarah's voice was firm. "Don't minimize it. You walked into hell and brought him home. That's not just anything." She gestured at the gathering. "We're not good at showing emotions, military families. We're used to saying goodbye, to accepting loss. But you taught us something. Sometimes miracles happen. Sometimes someone cares enough to fight the impossible fight." Maddox appeared, handing Elena a plate loaded with food. "Chen says you haven't eaten since the hospital. That changes now." "I'm not hungry." "Eat anyway. That's an order from your team commander." Elena looked up sharply. "My team commander." "You're Team 7 now." Maddox sat beside his wife, his daughters climbing onto his lap. "Which means you're stuck with us. Family dinners, terrible jokes, occasional life-threatening missions, the whole package." Rodriguez called from the grill. "Elena, tell them about the river crossing. They don't believe you got shot and kept moving." "Because it's insane," Jackson argued. "Normal humans don't do that." "She's not normal," Murphy shouted. "She's Wraith." Elena found herself smiling, genuinely smiling for the first time in years. These people, this family, they understood. They'd all walked through fire. They all carried scars. But they carried them together. As the sun set over the Pacific, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Elena Volkov made a decision. She'd spent 6 years running from connection, from family, from anything that reminded her of what she'd lost. Maybe it was time to find what she'd gained. Chen raised his beer. "To Team 7, to brotherhood, to the ones who never give up." "To family," Sarah added. "To coming home," Maddox finished, looking at Elena. She raised her beer, her voice steady. "To never leaving anyone behind." They drank together as stars appeared overhead. 8 SEALs, their families, and one legendary sniper who'd finally found her way home. Not to a place. To people. To family. And in the mountains of Afghanistan, in 1,000 places where warriors fought and bled and died, the story spread. The story of the SEALs who refused to abandon their commander. The story of the female sniper who walked through hell to save a stranger. The story that reminded everyone what it meant to be a warrior. Not the weapon you carry, not the enemy you defeat, but the brothers and sisters you refuse to leave behind. No matter what.